Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Advocate Health Podcast, the AHA Podcast. Jennifer Melwright here, and I'm sitting with Alyssa Morris. And today we wanted to talk about a couple of topics related to fraud kind of things going on, and then maybe get into some compliance. So, we're seeing a lot of sophisticated things out there right now around fraudulent activity. Give us a little bit of examples, Alyssa, of what you've seen out there and some stuff that's even happened to, I guess, some of our agents,
Mhm.
beneficiaries. I mean, what are you seeing?
Yeah. So, we have a spot the scam presentation that agents can give to beneficiaries out there. It's a great way to get community engagement. And it's basically telling Medicare beneficiaries how to be alert to scams that are targeting, seniors especially. So, we're definitely all on high alert to those types of, fraud phone calls where they try to get your bank info or they try to get your Medicare ID or whatever the case is. And so I also want to, make agents aware that could be the subject of a phishing attempt or a fraud too. And in many cases, agents might have sensitive info on their computer, right? We have client files, we have beneficiary information, commission statements, PHI, all that kind of stuff. So, more recently, we've experienced it with some agents where there have been attempts and they're getting more and more sophisticated. It's not just like the old attempt of, a fishy email with a link in it or a fishy text that says, hey, can you buy me a bunch of gift cards or something like that. They're getting more and more sophisticated, so it's getting scary. So, we had a situation where we received an email from an agent that had like a weird PDF link in it. And it said the subject line was something about like a proposal. Well, we weren't expecting it. We called the agent. Turns out she had no idea. Obviously, she didn't send it, so she was changing her password. So it's so important that agents are always just on high alert. If you're not expecting a link or if you're not expecting something, don't just click on it. I think at one of our previous podcasts, we talked about like the Google Calendar thing that was going around and it was like doing bad stuff. So just
Yeah.
be on high alert all the time.
Yeah. And we've seen things like on Zoom or Teams
Mhm.
where they're trying to access information that way and wanting to take
Yes.
over your computer. That's so creative. They're always thinking of new ways to try to use the newest technologies to kind of get in there and ultimately, see if they can access banking and
Hmm.
files and things like that. So, what could we like? I know internally what we do for our own employees. We've got a some quarantine and we have a team that can help us with that. But what would an agent do, or what can they do when something
Yeah.
like that happens?
So I think the number one thing that every agent should be doing is making sure that you have an antivirus, anti-malware program on your computer that should be running all the time. It should be doing daily scans. Okay, you can set it up so that it's always doing those scans every day. It's also blocking hopefully malicious links and malicious hardware. So that's the number one thing I would recommend that agents do. And the second thing is make sure that you're changing your passwords frequently. Don't keep using the same password for every single program and it's the same password that you've had for the past 5 or 10 years. You want to be changing your passwords frequently and having different ones. And then I would also say be suspicious. Always be suspicious.
Yeah.
Always be triple checking. Always be asking
Yeah.
questions. The carriers know this because if you log into the carrier portals now, in a way, it's like breaking into Fort Knox. You have to do multi-factor authentication. You have to get a security code. You have to open authenticators. So, because it's just getting crazy out there with the attempts that are happening.
Yeah. Well, great advice, Alyssa. That's awesome. If anybody ever needs help or wants to ask us any questions, feel free to reach out to
Hmm.
Advocate and we'll be happy to help you when if anything like that ever happens. Let's switch gears now a little bit. I want to touch on a topic of compliance, right? We talked on a former podcast about the carriers looking at quality, right? Quality is very highly linked to things around compliance, proper needs analysis, things like this. But you just did a really great educational compliance update for lots of agents. And instead of going through, like, I know that was like an hour long, but can you give us just maybe some quick things on there that I think every agent might want to know about 2027 that'll be helpful if they're watching this?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good solid hour yesterday and it was a great session and it is recorded and we're loading it in our Advocate for Agents portal literally this afternoon. I have the link. I'm going to put it out there right after this. But it's on advocateforagents.com on the Advocate Health University portal. So it's Get AEP Ready. It's basically giving you updates as far as the marketing rules. A lot of them you probably already know. The 48-hour buffer window is going away for scope of appointments. You still need to have a scope, but you don't have to wait the 48 hours. The 12-hour buffer between holding an educational event and a marketing event in the same location is also going away. Best practice. I know it's awesome. And, you remember like years ago, it used to be that way. You used to be able to do an educational and a marketing event at the same location. Then they put the 12-hour rule in place. Now they're removing it. It's like everything kind of comes back around. And so best practice is if you're going to hold a Medicare 101, for example, then wait 30 minutes, then do your sales and marketing event. Make sure you give people an opportunity to leave if they choose to. Attendance isn't required for those things. Also remember that when you're advertising your event, there's different disclaimers for an educational event versus a marketing event. So just keep that in mind. And also the meals, educational events, you can have a meal as long as it's under the $15 per person maximum. And sales and marketing events, you cannot have a meal. So you want to make sure that you're keeping those things separate.
So what's the recommendation there? Would they just
Mhm.
if it's gonna be right after, maybe, have just those snacks instead or
Yeah,
do the
I know it's hard. So some agents have asked about advertising the events. They're like, well, can I advertise them on the same piece because now we can have them in the same location? But I tell agents best practice is to advertise them separately because for your educational event, again, you're going to have the educational disclaimers. It's going to say educational. And if you're having a meal, you can advertise that on there. Then have your separate advertisement for your marketing event with the correct marketing disclaimers. And yeah, your educational event, if it's at a restaurant, you can serve a meal. Make an announcement. I tell agents, announce before the Medicare 101 starts, hey, afterwards at this time, there's going to be a sales and marketing event where we'll do a deep dive into a plan. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you don't have to. Do the same thing at the end of the Medicare marketing or the Medicare 101 event. Announce that at such and such time the marketing event is going to start. And then, keep it totally separate. Have light snacks and refreshments at your marketing event.
Okay, awesome. That is so good. That's great information. I know that that's a question that we keep getting asked, and I think if, any agent out there sees that, it's gonna be so helpful. You're the best. You mentioned disclaimers, so, I know that's a very specific piece of information, but I think it's helpful to get that information out there, like, every year it changes just a little bit, right? How did the disclaimer change from last year to this year?
Not a huge amount. It's relatively exactly the same. The only thing that they're taking out for 2027 is the ships reference. But
Okay.
everything else remains the same. So if it's marketing, you have to have how many plans and organizations that you represent, put that number in and still give them the 1-800 Medicare number to call. So the only thing they took out is the ships reference. So that still has to be there.
And we've updated all those disclaimers on our pieces that we offer out for agents and whatnot so they can utilize them. If anybody has questions about that disclaimer or just wants what that looks like, we can share it too.
Yes.
I guess plug to the compliance at advocatehealthllc.com, right? Because
Yes.
we have a team that can answer any questions if you need any help or just call into our agent care team.
Mhm.
So that's great information. I guess anything else we want to talk about, Alyssa, today on this podcast? I think that pretty much covers the majority. We wanted to make this more of like a aha moment today to give you just some little tips and nuggets. So we'll keep it brief, but we really appreciate everybody joining today on today's aha podcast. Appreciate Alyssa and giving the compliance updates and all the nuggets about that. And tune in next week, and we'll have the rest of the team together for another topic.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.